Welcome back to the Hungaroring for the final time this weekend, the final race in the GB3 Championship here in Hungary. And we're looking forward to this one, Piers, because it's the reverse grid race. That means the first 12 drivers are reversed from qualifying. Just remind us again why that is.
Well, it's an opportunity for the drivers at every race weekend, well, inside the top 12, to basically race their way through the field and get some much-needed racecraft experience. Overtaking is difficult in single-seaters, everyone knows that, with the aerodynamics we have on these cars, so therefore it brings the field together, closes everyone up and gives opportunities for overtaking, which hopefully provides good racing and good experience for the drivers.
It will indeed. We've already had 2 races this weekend. We saw earlier on what happened yesterday in the first race. Now let's just catch up with what happened earlier on with the second race of the weekend here in the GB3 Championship.
Highlights from round 11 of the GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC, would once again be Gerard Shee starting from pole position. An excellent launch from him, with him holding off his teammate in the number 22, the championship leader of Team Kuharczyk. It was a better launch though from Louis Sharp from the third row of the grid. He was able to drag himself alongside Mackenzie Cresswell and Will McIntyre down into the first corner. There was plenty of side-by-side action behind as they were going 3 wide, a few rows deep into that first corner, but at the front of the field it was still a 1-2 for the Hi-Tech Pulsate team. That wouldn't last too long though, as once Louis Sharp had completed his move on Louis Sharp, he was instantly sending one around the outside of Team Kuharczyk, the championship leader. He'd complete the move on the exit of turn 2, and then eventually there'd be a technical problem for Gerard Shee that would cost him the race lead. There was plenty of battling further down, including this moment here as Flynn Jacks was sent up onto 2 wheels by Sean Rashid in the VRD racing car. Meanwhile, Louis Sharp was dominating. He was pulling out a comfortable margin over Team Kuharczyk. Bit of contact between Noah Ping and John Bennett going through turn 5 would see those two switch positions and John Bennett moving up to 7th. Meanwhile, it was Louis Sharp at the front of the field to take a very well-deserved victory, his second one in GB3, and ending the Hi-Tech Pulse 8 dominance over, of course, Team Kuharczyk and Will McIntyre. A fantastic performance from Sharp. Now taking a look at the provisional results, of course, from race 2 of the Hungaroring, is Louis Sharp taking the victory once again in fantastic form over Team Kuharczyk. Will McIntyre will still make it 2 Hi-Tech Pulsate drivers on the podium, but of course the question marks as to what happened to Gerard Shee. Mackenzie Cresswell in 4th position with Patrick Hoytzenroder, his best ever main race performance. 5th place for him, his highest before this was 3rd place at the season finale last year. Waberski to 6th position was being closed down in the final moments there by John Bennett, who'd worked his way eventually past Noah Ping and up in the 7th position. James Headley and Hugo Schwarzer would round out the top 10, with the rest of the finishers inside the top 15 being Sean Rashid, Josh Erfan, Nikita Johnson, Colin Queen and Javier Segura. Of course, in his return to GB3 must be said, Segura did race back in 2022, but still a solid performance from him. The final few positions would see Sebastian Murray, Ed Pearson, Flynn Jackson, Ditchy Kulkarni finishing on the lead lap, along with Gerard Shee after his earlier issues, and an unfortunate retirement for the Road and Motorsports car of Arthur Rojon.
Yeah, and we can see the car actually in front of us here. This is Mackenzie Cresswell with Elite Motorsports, the number 16 car, just going through some final preparations here. And actually, after that race finished, Piers, Team Kuharczyk, the Hi-Tech Pulsate driver, was actually disqualified from the race, which means that Mackenzie Cresswell has been elevated to 3rd place. He gets himself a trophy. So, a stronger weekend than he was anticipating before we go into this race, and he'll be hoping for some more points and positions here.
Yeah, he would have liked to have stood on the podium and celebrated in front of everyone, but he'll take the points in the 3rd place on the results nonetheless. Unfortunately, Team Kuharczyk's fire extinguisher went off at some point in the pre-race or during the race, and unfortunately you have to stop the car immediately if your fire extinguisher goes off, because if it's gone off and then you have a fire, you can't then put that fire out. So unfortunate for Team Kuharczyk, really unlucky. Happens, it's just like one of the once in a blue moon type thing. Really disappointing. He deserved to take the position that he got in that previous race, but that is racing, and Mackenzie Cresswell is the person who get the advantage from that. Well, everyone actually to below, but Mackenzie Cresswell got a podium, and actually I think I might grab a word with Mackenzie while he's just
I was going to say, obviously Tim may face a further punishment to be taken at Zandvoort, so we'll obviously keep checking the GB3 Championship website for that. But yeah, go and have a quick chat with Mackenzie Cresswell there,
sure.
Before the cars go out.
Yeah, Mackenzie is just getting in the car, getting the last few words from his father. Of course, Mackenzie had a strong finish the last season, and I thought jump in a quick word with Mackenzie. Mackenzie, after Tim X's issue after the race, you inherited 3rd position, higher than you expected. You must feel pretty good.
Yeah, it feels good. I'm pleased to get on the podium, although I didn't finish there, so it doesn't feel as good as it would have done. But I'll take the points. I'm glad it happened. So just going to try and keep the momentum going to the next one.
One more race to come this weekend. Of course, it's the top 12 reverse. The temperatures have gone up again. Track temper is definitely higher than it was this morning. What is your expectation from the race? What could you want to get out of it?
Just as many points as possible. I mean, yeah, as you said, it's the last weekend. There's nothing to lose, so may as well just go for it. It's going to be tricky with a very high track temp, as I mean, it's going to make the tyres probably pretty difficult to manage throughout the race. So it's going to really show who can manage them the best. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting. It's starting to
Oh, Mackenzie, thank you so much for chatting to us. We'll let you continue with the preparations. So just seeing in our ears, 44 degrees is the track temperature now on circuit, which was probably 10 or 15 degrees higher than this morning. So tyre management, getting them up to temperature and then keeping them on will be important.
Yeah, well, we'll just keep an eye on Mackenzie here. Starting 7th here, final preparations going on. An early one, Piers, you spoke to someone starting 5th today, Sean Rashid with VRD by Arden here in the United Kingdom. And here's what Sean had to say.
Sean, we just had race 2. We're looking ahead to the race 3 now. They're top 12 reverse. You're going to be starting 5th in that race. Good qualifying from yourself this weekend. But it's you've been through the wars a little bit, not also on circuit, but also you've got a bit of an injury that you're carrying this weekend.
Yeah, no, it's starting P4 for the next race, so I'm really looking forward to it. That's probably that is the furthest that I've started. But yeah, it's it's just a little thing, but the track's so physical and it's really bumpy, and to be quick you have to use a lot of the curbs and stuff, and there's just so much turning going on, and there's so much caster in these cars. It's really heavy, and you just get like blisters on your hands and stuff, and so that makes it difficult. But I mean, once you're in the car, you're just kind of numbed out to everything. But yes, really looking forward to race 3. I think it's going to be a pretty exciting one. Obviously the reverse grids always are, and yeah, try and get our first podium, so looking forward to it.
Pace has been really good this weekend, testing and then also qualifying, as we've seen, well within the top 10 quite consistently. It seems like you guys have made another step forward. We keep saying that every time I see you, getting higher and higher. There must be a good feeling.
Yeah, no, definitely. I've been putting in so much work, so much work. It's non-stop, the training I've been doing, so it's really nice to see it finally pay off. And I have a really good group of team around me. The cars are really good. VRD has been really wonderful to me. And just having the faith that if I keep putting in the work, things will work out. And it's just nice to finally see every event just moving forward a little bit, and the confidence builds, and the team gets confidence, and it just kind of builds on itself. So yeah, definitely a good trajectory. Yeah,
give us an idea of what work you're doing. I mean, of course, you work a lot behind the scenes. People who aren't a racing driver, what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much train 5 days a week, 6 days a week sometimes, and a lot of it is I go to a driver center, iZone, and do sim work there. A lot of fitness, working out once or twice a day, cardio, and then weights. I do a lot of karting as well, because a lot of these guys have been driving, since they're really young, 5, 6 years old, and I started 2 years ago. So I kind of missed out on the karting stuff, so I've been doing a lot of karting on the side, and that's helped me a lot. And yeah, and then doing just getting on tracks and regular road cars with driver coaches and stuff has helped a lot. So it's just a lot of just driving here, driving all over the UK and doing training, but I love it. And it's just, it makes, when you get results like this, it makes you just want to push even harder, so.
And we're not quite done yet. Of course, you've got your good grid position in the last one. What would be a good result for you in this final race at Budapest?
Oh man, I'd love to get a podium. Getting my first podium in this series would be pretty incredible, so we're definitely shooting for that.
Sean, I'd like to see that on today, so go well in the final race of the weekend, and we'll see you, of course, next time out as well.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Thank you, guys.
Always good to hear from Sean Rashid. Always got family members. I'm assuming it's his dad is always here supporting and always having a good laugh. And you know what? It's a really friendly atmosphere in the GB3 paddock, and it's even friendlier when we're away from the United Kingdom, when we're in places like Spa and we're in Hungary. And next time out in 3 weeks' time, we'll be at Zandvoort in Holland, in the Netherlands. That's going to be another exciting thing to look forward to. But first, we have this reverse grid race. And Piers, when we're looking at these cars here, we have Josh Irfan starting on pole position. We're going to hear from him in just a second. He's there with JHR. Artur Rojon, who's been doing amazing things with Rodin in the car you can just see behind the number 18 black car. And then Jared Weberski, someone who's in his second season, second team in GB3. That's the bright yellow car there, number 20. One of these drivers could win the race here, but you've got Louis Sharp just behind in the number 7 Rodin, starting 4th, who won that second race today.
From 4th.
And certainly, is very much blending into that car, where the mechanical elements and the human elements seem to sort of mix. He seems to have that perfectly, and he's working in synergy. I think synergy is the word I'm looking for.
Synergy is a good word, John. We'll go with that. But yeah, of course, the early point at this weekend, high-tech pulsate certainly had the pace, but in that last race, really sharp, took it to them and drove away at the front of the field, so he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. But let's make no bones about it. Of course, Josh Irfan's on pole from having started in 12th place in race 1, but that 12th place was, I think it was less than a second, less than a second away from the overall pole position time. The margins are so close.
Very, very close. We've actually sort of just seen Josh Irfan there, so we should probably hear from Josh Irfan, as I mentioned, and you caught up with him earlier.
Josh, race 2 just happened. Talk to us about how the race went for you.
A bit of an average race. I mean, pace wasn't there because we were sort of saving tyres for a reverse grid race. But yeah, managed to get P12, which is up 2 positions. It's not where it should be, but I qualified 4, so there's nothing really more I could have done there. But yeah, just sort of looking forward to race 3.
And you mentioned you're saving tyres in race 3. That's because you're starting on pole position. So when you say saving tyres, of course, no brand new tyres. You use both sets in qualifying, but do you think that will give you a bit of an edge?
Yeah, hopefully. It's hard to overtake through here, so all I need is a good start, and I should be able to get away. So.
And is that the plan? Just try and get your head down, not looking in the mirrors, or do you think there's going to be much pressure from behind?
Some good drivers behind me are outplaced, but yeah, I should be able to cope with the pressure. I've done it before. But yeah, it's all about the start. First lap, that's probably where I'm going to end up for the race.
Hopefully so, but we saw Louis Sharp going from 4th to 1st on lap 1 in that previous one. He's starting 4th in this one. Are you going to try and hold him off?
He's good, but yeah, I'll be able to do it.
Josh, good luck in race 3. We'll see how you get on.
Thank you.
Well, Josh will be starting on pole position. He's just driven past us just now. As you can see, the cars now are going into the pit lane. They're going to go out of the pit lane. They're going to do a lap. They'll get onto the grid there before the formation lap. And this track is excellent. I know you've had a little walk around, Piers. It's one of those tracks that you just have to take in and appreciate that we're here. So let's take a closer look at the track here at the Hungaroring, and let's see what it looks like from the driver's perspective as well.
So the Hungaroring then, of course, with all of its difficulty when it comes to overtaking, the best overtaking opportunity is that down into turn 1. We drop down the hill through turn 2 and 3, and then rising back up towards turn 4, where track limits will be seen by race control. Going through 6 and 7, and then through the S's section at 8, 9, 10 and 11, and into the third and final sector at 12. We'll begin this climb back up through 13 and 14, the double hairpin sequence to end the lap. It is a difficult one when it comes to overtakes, but over the 2.7 miles of racetrack, there are plenty of opportunities if you are brave. The 14 turns, most notably down into turn 1, and of course that chicane at 6 and 7. Plenty of undulation around here as well, dropping down to the lowest point coming out of turn 3 before rising back up the hill at 34.7 metres of elevation.
Let's ride on board the Hungaroring circuit with Edward Pearson in his Vortec Motorsport car, dropping downhill towards turn 1, heavy braking zone to one of the slowest corners on the circuit. An overtaking opportunity on the first lap and throughout the race. We get downhill all the way through the first sector. Watch out for track limits on the exit. The AstroTurf doesn't offer much grip. We head over to the right-hand side. Turn number 2, overtaking opportunity on the inside and the outside. Doesn't quite need to make the apex as the corner rolls downhill and off camber. Bring it back slightly to the left-hand side for the flat-out turn number 3. Now, turn number 4 coming up. We now rise uphill, lowest part of the circuit here. Turn number 4, full commitment on the entry. Watch out for track limits on the exit. Massive G-force, massive handful of oversteer for Ed Pearson there. Then turn number 5, the corner that goes on forever and ever. Keeps going right. Again, track limits. Watch out for that on the exit. Now, technical chicane for turns 6 and 7. Nibble the curb on the right and on the left. Use all of the road on the exit. A slower middle sector. We go left once again. Keep it left to open up the right as we've got a bit of a long run towards turn number 11. Turn number 10 coming up, the left-hand kink, completely flat out in the GB3 cars. Then 11, again, another full commitment corner. Just a slight lift through here. Watch out, try and keep the car within the track limits on the exit. Another heavy braking zone, downhill once again, into the final sector. Hit the apex, watch out for track limits. Straight over to the right-hand side, uphill now we roll. Try and nip a late apex for a good run through the second last corner. And then a technical last corner as well. 2 long corners to finish the lap. The tyres can really go away on a hot lap like this with the high track temperatures that we're experiencing this weekend. And that is a lap on board the Hungaroring circuit.
Well, look where we are now, Piers. Who'd have thought? Us standing on the on the starting grid. We're by P6 here, where Patrick Hudson-Royder, the Australian driver, will be lining up in a matter of seconds. The cars are just coming around. I can hear them out of the my peripheral hearing. Is that a thing? I don't know. Who knows? No. It's been a long weekend. So when it comes to these reverse grid races, getting a good start is going to be imperative for those drivers who are faster and want to make up some positions. Again, Louis Sharp, I'm just looking at starting in 4th. If he gets a good start, I know the drivers in front do have GB3 experience, but I can't see anything but him making up some places and doing well in this race.
It all depends on the start. It's we've heard from the drivers this weekend, and we've said it multiple times before, it's so important to get away from the line quickly and then get through the first 2 corners efficiently but also cleanly. If a driver has a good start, they can jump a whole row, 2 or 3 positions, but if, for example, I think Josh Irfan's got an excellent opportunity, his first win in the GB3 Championship here. If he gets away well and then defends well into turn 1 and turn 2, it's going to be hard for Rojon, Robersi, Sharp, Rashid or any of the other drivers behind to pass.
Right, there we go. Patrick Hertz on it in screen now. I think we're going to have to pull our cameraman off of the track just to make sure that he's not in the way there. We're going to watch the cars just go out in a second. But for the last time this weekend, as we watch the cars get ready to go out on the formation lap, let's go racing here in the GB3 Championship at the Hungaroring here in Hungary.
But what an exciting race it was earlier on in the weekend, and what an exciting championship prospect we have ahead of us. It's been an incredible season thus far that began at Alton Park, of course, the run through Silverstone, Spa, and here at the Hungaroring for round 12 of the season, which will end the first half of the championship. Of course, we keep on our European road trip as we head to Zandvoort next, then returning to the UK with Silverstone, with Donington Park, and of course, we're heading to West Kingsdown in Kent for Brands Hatch to round out the championship. It is on a knife's edge though here at the Hungaroring. 222 points for Will McIntyre, just 2 clear of Louis Sharp, 10 clear of Timek Kuharczyk, and a championship which shows no signs of slowing down after a thrilling race earlier on in the day. Of course, it all was about that race start for Louis Sharp down into the first corner, where he was able to sneak his way past Will McIntyre and then eventually Kuharczyk as well. It was turns 6 and 7 where he snuck his way past Gerard Chi after a technical issue for the High-Tech Pulsate team, and then he ended up dominating the rest of the race. What are we going to see in here? Of course, with it being the reverse grid race, not too many overtaking opportunities around the 2.7 miles and 14 turns of the Hungaroring. Of course, the plenty of ups and downs, not only on the circuit, but I'm sure in the race as well. It is going to be very, very exciting, I have no doubt. But can Josh Irfan take a victory, a first victory for him in GB3? Of course, he's got a podium in GB4 to his name, less so in GB3. He'll be starting alongside Arthur Rojon, who the last time he started from second place, well, he ended up finishing in second place. That was Snetterton last year, of course, and a race that was won by Daniel Mavlyatov on the way to another victory for Mavlyatov. It took quite a few last year. Arthur Rojon will look to go slightly better than that, but I think their main focus will be the driver who'll be starting from 4th place. Again, Louis Sharp from 4th. He won from 5th earlier on in the day, looking for very much the same thing. Timek Kuharczyk starting down from 11th position. Will McIntyre, champion, now starting from 9th position. They'll be looking to make a lot of progress because, again, a reminder as to how things work in this race. You get 20 points for the race victory. But the important bit is for those positions. It's 20, 17, 15, 13, 11, and 10 the top 6, and then it goes down in ones all the way down to 15th place. But you do gain an extra point for every position you make up. So if you start 5th and you end up in 1st, well, that means that you've made up 4 positions because you started 5th, ending up at the front of the field. So you gain the 20 points for the victory plus 4 points for the positions gained as well. So realistically, Louis Sharp can score a maximum, an absolute maximum of 23 points in this race because he's starting from 4th, so he can only make up 3 positions. He'll then score 20 points for the victory. That's all he can score. However, technically speaking, people like Timek Kuharczyk, who's starting from 11th, can outscore Louis Sharp even from there. If he works up to second position, for example, at 17 points for second, plus 9 points for the positions gained, thus making it 26. So he'd outscore by 3. We've got a slight delay to the start of the race. That's why I am waffling and we're not seeing them start the formation lap. So don't worry about that. Race control just dealing with a couple of bits down there on the start grid and around the circuit. You know how hard it is to run race weekends for these drivers and teams, and of course those behind the scenes that have a lot to juggle to make sure that we are racing safely. So they're dealing with all the precautions of that. We should be running around the formation lap in a couple of laps time. With that, I'll update you a little bit with the championship standings. Again, if you didn't join us a little bit earlier on in the broadcast where we went through them, Will McIntyre in the lead of the championship now on 222 points. Louis Sharp in second place on 220 after that victory in the previous race. Timothy Harchek dropping down to third position in the championship on 212, so he's 10 points shy of the championship lead. John Bennett in fourth position, Mackenzie Cresswell inside the top 5, 189 for Bennett, 168 for Mackenzie Cresswell. Those are the top 6. Ikuchukwu is not in the race because he's obviously racing in Freca this weekend. That's why he is not taking part in GB3. He's still 6th in the championship though, and hopefully we'll see him return to the championship in the near future, because a quality driver is the American. But the important bit though is that at the top of the standings, and of course the important reason as to why Kuharczyk is not in the lead of the championship anymore. Of course, after the previous race he actually extended his championship lead up to a 20-point lead in the championship, and now he's got a 10-point deficit. Well, that is because he was disqualified from the previous race, courtesy of the fire extinguisher going off and then him not coming to a stop, which is what was required of the fire extinguisher went off on the formation lap. Basically, so because of that, it's a disqualification. The fire extinguisher needs to be, for one, ready to go at a moment's notice, because if the car sets fire, if he's to race and then have a crash and then the fire extinguisher can't go off because it's already gone off, then yeah, you don't want to think about that. Either way, the formation lap will begin now, because we'll see them roll their way through. So that's why Kuharczyk was disqualified, because it was a safety thing on his and the team side. That's what I was getting at. Again, as they'll roll their way down into the first corner on the formation lap. Let's take a look then at the starting grid then for round 12 of the season. Josh Erfin, of course, on pole position alongside Ard de Rojon, whose highest finish in GB3 was second place, from starting from second place. Can he go one better than that? Jared Alberski in third position for Elite Motorsports, and looking like he's got some quality speed in the car. Louis Sharp, second in the championship, won the previous race from fifth position. Can he win this one from fourth? Sean Rashid in fifth place, an excellent start for him, and Patrick Huizenbroda, who's having arguably one of his best weekends in GB3. 7th, 6th and 6th is starting positions across the weekend thus far. Mackenzie Cresswell down in 7th position, of course, with the reverse grid. James Headley qualified in 5th, so we'll start this one from 8th, with Will McIntyre, the new championship leader, starting from 9th place. John Bennett obviously will start just at the rear end of the top 10 with a podium in the opening race at the weekend, and then we get to Timothy Harchek, fresh off of a disqualification in the previous one. He'll be starting alongside Jared Shee, his teammate, who won the first race of the weekend. Those drivers then that weren't reversed. Noah Ping will start from 13th position in what has been a tricky weekend for the VRD Racing by Arden driver. Hugo Schwarzer will start from 14th, looking to cling on to the back end of the top 10 of the championship. Flynn Jacks will start from 15th position with Javier Segura. The two of those have nearly made contact a couple of times this weekend. Sebastian Murray will start from 17th. Adichie Kulkarni from 18th position on the grid. The final couple of rows will see Nikita Johnson and Ed Pearson rolling from 19th and 20th, and Colin Queen starting from the rear of the field. While we started 21st in the first race of the weekend and still managed to finish in 14th. Lewis McGlade and of course Piers Pryor in the commentary booth. Piers, you've made your way up here, and it's looking like a glorious race, looking like we're going to have a lot of fun, and looking like we might have a bit of drama in the championship as well.
Yeah, it's all hotting up, as is the circuit and air temperature, and as you can see from the colour of my forehead, Lewis, it's the small jog I did getting lost on the way to the commentary box has meant that I'm a little bit sweatier than I would normally be. But hey, we're here ready for another race, and I'm sure that the drivers will be working harder than I was on the way to the dummy grid, that's for sure. But this man here, starting from pole position, will be looking to clinch his first GB3 victory in this race. If he can get away at the start, get away and lead out of turn 2 or 3, then he's got a good chance of it. But I also don't want to jinx him, because I said that in the last race, and then look what happened.
Well, he's only had one top 10 finish in GB3 so far. It was race 2 back in Silverstone. So imagine the pressure on his shoulders to grab another one, or maybe something even more special. I mean, I know you're well aware as to how fast your heart will be pounding in that car. It's going to be a tricky race for Josh Erfan for sure.
Yeah, the rolling up lap is often the most physical part of the race because you're weaving so hard left to right without a break that you can get out of breath. But the focus will not be on how tired they are, they'll be on the perfect start. We get green flag at the back of the field. We're ready to go racing for the final time this weekend.
Can Louis Sharp from 4th position get the same level of start as what he did in the previous race? Can there be a lead down into the first corner coming from Josh Erfan? The final race of the weekend and round 12 is underway as we head down towards the first corner. Not the defensive line coming in from the number 12 JHR Developments driver, because Arthur Rojon has already got alongside down to the first corner. That number 18 Rodin Motorsports car could be going for the race lead. Meanwhile, side by side for third, the black and white car of Louis Sharp to the inside of Jared Waberski, and he is able to complete that move on the race down the hill. Look at the side by side for the race lead though, as I think there might have been a bit of an incident in the background. That is Arthur Rojon going straight around the outside of Josh Erfan. Fantastic move from the 18.
Yeah, and still side by side for third and fourth, as well as wide goes. I think that's one of the JHR cars. Couldn't pick out the number, but Waberski holding off Sharp as well.
Yeah, it was John Bennett in the 11 car that was the one that went right, but just managed to keep himself at least in a decent position, did John Bennett, still at the back end of the top 10. Some big drama there for one of the VRD racing cars.
Yeah, getting into the side of one of the high-tech Pulse 8 cars. Again, it's quite hard to pick out the numbers when they're travelling at such speed, but there was certainly contact and someone going, why, that's a puncture. That looks like it's probably the number 3 of Noah Ping? Yeah, number 3 of Noah Ping making contact with the front wheel to rear wheel and clearly bending the steering suspension or potentially get front wing. Oh, front wing damage for the 22. That is our championship leader, Timot Kuharczyk. So things are going from bad to worse. But in the background, there's a move that looks like it's going to be a move from the Rodin car on the inside. Oh, very late move on the inside of Mackenzie Cresswell. Lewis, I couldn't catch up the number. Struggling to pick up the numbers. Headley, that's a great move from my Headley. And also picking up the pieces is the 11 in the grey JHR car of John Bennett.
Yeah, indeed. Bennett sneaking around the outside, getting onto the dirty part of the road through the penultimate corner, still to the inside of Mackenzie Cresswell. Of course, those two have been teammates before. They get along quite well. Not quite as well as James Headley. And John Bennett squeezed him out wide at the final corner as well. A little bit naughty there from John Bennett, but he had the line and he had the right to the position as he worked his way down now into T1. The mirrors being filled, of course, from Mackenzie Cresswell working his way in that bright yellow car to the outside. That's the 23 of Gerard Shee into the first corner, trying to sneak all the way around the outside as John Bennett squeezes him out wide again. They'll be side by side down towards turn 2, and I think there might have even been contact there.
It looked like there was front to rear contact. Shee on the back of Bennett as the number 3 of Ping has come into the pit, so he is out of the race. But this battle is going on and continuing, and it's to and fro as now Mackenzie Cresswell makes his way back past Gerard Shee.
What a crazy start to the race once more. Side by side up the hill, Gerard Shee looking to the outside of Mackenzie Cresswell. Yeah, I was going to say, surely you got to back out of that one. Still has got Timot Kuharczyk, sorry, that's Will McIntyre directly behind, rather, in the 21 car. So Will McIntyre not making up too much progress, down to 10th position. In fact, he started in 9th as Gerard Shee looks to the outside of Mackenzie Cresswell. This race is not going well for the high-tech Pulse 8 team, who looks like the dominant force of the GB3 Championship coming into the Hungaroring. Not looking ideal for them in this third and final race of the weekend.
No, contact between for Kuharczyk is dropping him down the field, and that's of course coming off the back of his disqualification. Unfortunate disqualification, not from any driving issues from Kuharczyk, but we still got this battle going on. Cresswell defending hard. Is that Cresswell? No, that's... Yeah, that is Cresswell defending hard from the number 23 of Shee. Cresswell is trying to hold off that position. It was a bold move up the inside of the second last corner. That's a move we don't often see. And he's still managed to pry the door open, but Mackenzie Cresswell staying ahead at this point. Shee desperate to get through. Clearly feels like he's got a strong pace advantage over Cresswell at this stage of the race.
And of course he'll be feeling like he lost a lot of points in the previous race where he retired. Well, yeah, not retired. He had to come into the pit lane with an issue on the car. Basically, whilst from the race lead, he had to relinquish that one over. And so he'll be feeling like he's got the pace in the car. He already won a race this weekend. He looks to the outside of Mackenzie Cresswell, the 23 to the left-hand side, going all the way around the outside, sneaking it around the outside of Mackenzie Cresswell in the exact same way that he tried getting past John Bennett, going wide at T1. And that'll be Gerard Shee in the 23, once again still to the inside of Mackenzie Cresswell. It's such an awkward line there down into turn 2. The track really runs away from you there. I'm surprised that they didn't hit each other.
Yeah, it was great driving from the both of them. Mackenzie Cresswell allowing space on the inside. They're still side by side going up to turn 4. Again, She is going to have to relinquish that position. You cannot go around the outside of turn 4 without a significant overlap. But it was She who looked around the outside of turn 1, which put him on the inside for turn 2. But we know you can run it around the outside of turn 2 because it's so off camber and downhill. It then puts you on the inside for the right kink at 3. And unfortunately, She couldn't get through that time. And Will McIntyre is right there, ready to pick up any pieces from this battle as well. It's nose to tail pretty much all the way down the top 10 and beyond. But let's have a look at the start once again, Lewis.
Yeah, see exactly what happened. So, I mean, this is where you can see Arthur Rojan actually had a really solid start because Josh Erfan could not come across to defend on the race down towards turn 1. I'm actually surprised on the inside that number 7 car of Louis Sharp was unable to get past Jared Oberski. But Arthur Rojan at the front of the field, plenty of side-by-side behind. I did think I saw a wing fly off here, and I wonder if that's where potentially there was the contact for Kuharczyk, but I don't actually believe it was there. So we'll have to keep our eyes to see where that actually ended up. Kuharczyk, by the way, has returned to pit lane to have that repaired, so he's dropped right the way down the order, and there won't be any major gains. He certainly won't be retaking a championship lead this race.
Yeah, Lewis, what did we say? Oh, there's a dive down the inside. Number 2 of James Headley looking up the inside. Number 10 from Huizenrode. Doesn't get the move done, but just showing his intent early. And we'll continue to focus on this battle while it goes on, because this is probably the closest battle inside the top 10. Headley, a very experienced driver in the GB3 Championship, driving for Rodin for the first time this weekend in the GB3 Championship, showing great pace, being the highest qualifying Rodin driver on his Rodin debut, but also a great weekend so far for Pat Huizenrode. He's his best consistent results for the JHR team in his first full season in the GB3 Championship. We caught up with him and his mentor David Brabham before I think was it this morning's race, Lewis? I can't remember, yeah. But it was it's a good battle to see these drivers at different stages of their GB3 career fighting it out cleanly and but also not leaving anything on the table.
Yeah, David Brabham's already got he's got his eyes on a lot of places in motorsport, as well as in sim racing. I once filled about 40 minutes of Le Mans Virtual with David Brabham once. He's a great guy, great character, and a great mentor, of course, for Pat Huizenrode. As we'll see the battling behind Ed Pearson in the number 41 Fortec car, sat in 12th position at the moment, keeping Nikita Johnson, Sean Rashid, Aditya Kulkarni at bay, although I think he's just run wide as the 41, going through the infamous turn 12, and there comes the inside move from Nikita Johnson. Extremely aggressive, coming down finally into turn 12, looking to the outside now to the penultimate corner at 13. It's going to be a big brave move from the VRD Racing driver, and he was giving it a good go.
This is great racing. It was a good overtaking attempt from Nikita Johnson into the slow right-hander that begins the last sector. That put him on the outside, unfortunately, for the left-hander, and Pearson did everything he could, but legally just showed Nikita Johnson a bit of the dirty rubber offline, as Bennett looking around the outside of Headley now can't quite get that move done. Lewis, this racing is excellent in the GB3 Championship. I'm loving this wheel-to-wheel action.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of squeezing coming off at T1. I'll say that. I think it's the third time that we've seen that in 4 laps. It's kind of expected if you're trying to go around the outside there. But me, I'm always there. If there's an overlap, you've got to give the room. But that's fine. That's a race control decision. There'll be no penalties, warnings, or anything from that. It's just hard race between a lot of them. James Headley defending from John Bennett, who's trying to work his way up the order of the battle for 6th position. Of course, I think the big shock, by the way, from this race thus far, obviously, if you account for the Kuharczyk and all that kind of stuff, is actually the fact that Louis Sharp has not been able to work his way past that driver there, Jared Oberski, the bright yellow Elite Motorsports car. No progress coming in from Louis Sharp. He started this race in 4th, remains this race in 4th. He went from 5th to 1st basically on the first lap in the previous one. What's happened?
Yeah, potentially. I don't know. I haven't spoken to the teams. They're normally pretty keep things under wraps with their tyre strategy. As the number 2 of Headley's pushing hard and goes wide at the exit of turn 11. But I don't know whether Rodin put the newer or his less used set of tyres on for race 2 to try and make an advantage there, and potentially running with a little bit of a tyre disadvantage to the drivers around him in this one. But also, I was going to point out at the start, but we were concentrating on the battle for the lead, rightly so, was that Sharp got along the inside of Oberski into turn 1, but Oberski actually did some excellent racecraft, kept Sharp pinned down to the inside of the circuit, at the last moment darted to the outside, and that allowed him an open entry into turn 1, which ultimately allowed him to keep the position in 3rd place, and that could be a defining moment that allows Oberski to stay on the podium in this race should things end the way they are.
He's had a couple of podiums before as Wilberski, as we'll see a little bit further down the order with Ed Pearson as to what happened. He was side by side with Sean Rashid, who then Ed Pearson just drove basically straight off the road on that dirty, where the tyre marbles and stuff are. It's a really dirty part of the road, and it just pulled him straight off the road. Yeah,
it looked like it was probably a poor exit out of the little infield chicane from Edward Pearson, which allowed, did you say it was Rashid that got alongside?
Yeah.
So Rashid's clearly got alongside into the quick turn 11 right-hander, and there's no way you can go 2x2 through there. There's not enough space. It's so high speed that Pearson bailed out left, and you can see on the outside of the circuit the amount of rubber that's just being flicked off. Who's that? Judge. She's in the pits. Oh no, this thing's literally were looking so good for High-Tech Pulsate this weekend, and then unfortunately after that disqualification for Kuharczyk, and then on this race more issues with Gerard Shee. Again, we don't know what it is at this stage. We'll keep you informed if we hear anything more, but Gerard Shee will be so disappointed, especially after he had the effectively the race lead going into the second half of the first sector in the previous race, and then retired with another mechanical. So really disappointing scenes for Gerard Shee, which on what is probably his strongest weekend in terms of pace so far this season.
Well, I just saw the note there from Race Control. Black and white flag for 3 cars for exceeding track limits. One of them was Ed Pearson. I think we kind of saw what happened there. One of which was Sean Rashid. That was the 32. The other one was the 21. That is Will McIntyre. That is the championship leader now, who's running in 9th position, getting a warning for track limits. If you are wondering what's happening with the track limits, the championship table rather, I will pump some numbers into my spreadsheet once we're halfway through this race and give you a little bit of an update, roughly. Of course, we'll get it post-race as well, but still, always a little bit of a mid-race points table is always a bit of fun.
Yeah, he'll have to be careful with that, Will McIntyre, because one, he's in the championship lead, so he needs to make sure that he doesn't throw away any points from a 5-second penalty, because if he were to get a 5-second penalty, that would drop him outside of the top 10, currently sitting in 9th place, exactly where he started. But also don't forget that, Will McIntyre is the only High-Tech Pulsate driver running inside basically he's running at in the main group of cars with Kuharczyk's front wing damage and pit stop, meaning that he's now 45 or 46 seconds down on the lead, and Judge Shee just we saw a moment ago in the pits.
Yeah, which is obviously most certainly not ideal. But, those are the things that sometimes they happen. You've got to accept that some weekends aren't going to go fully to plan. And for the likes of Kuharczyk, they're well aware that this is a long season, etc. I've already seen some people on a certain Discord being like, is this Kuharczyk's championship battle over? Is he going to be out there? I'm like, no, what do you mean this is his championship battle over? He was coming in, this is basically the dominant force in the championship. What do you mean his championship battle's over?
Well, you look at last season, the second half of the season, it was Mackenzie Cresswell that was on an absolute roll. I think he was either the highest or second highest point scoring driver in the remaining in the last 3 events, and he was pushing on strong, and he's he's still within the top 10 this season, and some consistent results this weekend as well. Of course, 3rd place. Let's have a look at quick slow-mo through the chicane. I love a slow-mo. Look at the commitment through here from our race leader Arthur Rojan. Over the curve on the right-hand side, car moves around. These cars are so low that you hit the small curves and it can really unsettle the cars, but full commitment, and Rojan is doing an excellent job at the front of the field, maintaining that gap at just about 2 seconds. Oh, and it is Mackenzie Cresswell being overtaken on the inside by McIntyre, the 21 in the grey car. That's a good move, textbook move here at the Hungaroring.
Yeah, lovely stuff there. So the switch of position, Will McIntyre then will move his way up the order, a single position into 8th to the outside, though Mackenzie Cresswell's not done with this one. He's trying to squeeze his way back through. What do you make of that move at T1? Do you think Will Mac squeezed him out just a touch, or do you think that was fair?
Yeah, I think that was fair. I think Will McIntyre got far enough alongside by the apex that he was ahead as they were exiting the corner, and therefore was probably entitled to the position. And it looked like Mackenzie Cresswell decided he was going to leave the circuit fairly early on, so I don't foresee any judicial inquiries there. Of course, I may be wrong. I was very, very wrong in the previous race. So maybe you guys shouldn't. Maybe you guys at home shouldn't listen to me, but you're going to have to anyway because I'm here for now. So it was a good move. Hungaroring turn 1. Braking late in a straight line down to the apex, blocking off the apex, and then getting a good exit is pretty much the standard manoeuvre. And Mackenzie Cresswell didn't give up without a fight, though. Hung it around the outside of turn 2 and nearly kept that place. We see a move. Headley once again up the inside, all the way alongside. Whoa, so nearly contact. And the number 10 of Hoytson-Roder, who's in the grey car, had to take evasive action. And Headley looks on the inside once again. Look how close the cars are. Nothing between them.
Oh, this is getting a little bit dicey between them. Headley's out wide as he tries to get down the inside, or rather defending. John Bennett now trying to squeeze his way back through. Will he get the up and under? It could be an important move for John Bennett. It will be sitting 32 points off the championship lead. I'll update you with that table in a second as we head our way. 6 laps left to go in the final race here at the Hungaroring as Headley with the inside run of that number 2 Road and Motorsports car. The outside line coming in. Big lock up on the front left. That's an awkward tyre to have a lock up there at T1 as John Bennett tries to go up and under. Absolutely mashing the throttle pedal to the ground. Outside of turn 2, you can sneak one round him, but he's going to try and switch it up to the inside. Can't quite make that move as once again a lock up for Headley.
Yeah, locked up the front left twice, once into turn 1 and once into turn 2, but Headley just about holding on to that position. And it all started at this point. It was Headley up the inside of the third last corner. Hoytson-Roeder going wide to avoid contact. Perfectly legal there. I think that's absolutely fine. Headley seeing an opportunity into the second last corner, throwing it up the inside, not getting all the way alongside, which really hurt his exit into the last corner. Headley then was vulnerable and Bennett saw an opportunity, and then Headley actually ran wide out of the last corner onto the AstroTurf, which is what allowed Bennett the look into turn 1. But all excellent racing, above board, clean, hard, fair racing, and everyone kind of leaves that battle exactly where they started.
Someone who will want that fight to be pretty intense, pretty harsh, is Will McIntyre, who is closing up to it. It's 2 seconds off the rear end of it. In 8th position is Will McIntyre, who, with the results in this race, at the moment, as things stand, will be relinquishing the championship lead. He has a 2-point championship lead coming into this. He will be giving up that championship lead by 2 points to Louis Sharp, who will have a 2-point lead over the high-tech Pulsate driver. 21 back to Timothy Kuharczyk, so we're dropping a further 11 arrears, and 32 back to John Bennett, who will be on 201 points. These are rough provisional championship standings, obviously made during the race, so expect these to chop and change. But the important bit is Will McIntyre's closing things back up. There is Josh Irvin driving absolutely brilliantly, but not quite quick enough to keep up with Artur Ojon.
No, Irfan doing an excellent job. As you mentioned, this, if things finish as they are, it will be his first top 10 finish, you mentioned, Lewis. And second top 10 finish, but first podium. Second place, I imagine Josh Irfan will be disappointed with not winning the race, being on pole, but he will also be very, very happy and feel a bit of extra confidence building after a good result in this one. He qualified inside the top 12, so earned that reverse grid promotion. Well, it's not reverse grid, reverse top 12 promotion, and if things stay as they are and he drives consistently as he has been so far, then he'll be happy with that. But you were talking about Louis Sharp before we saw the lovely slow-mo of Josh Irfan. Louis Sharp, if you said to him after qualifying, having qualified in 9th in the high-tech Pulsate duo of Shi and Kuharczyk, starting in 1st and 2nd, if you'd have said to him after race 3, you will come away leading this championship by 2 points, he would absolutely have taken your hand off for that, as we see number 3 of Noah Ping getting a 5-second penalty for track limits. Doesn't make a difference because he's already been in the pits.
He's been pinged.
Lewis. Anyway,
I'm sorry.
Louis Sharp will be absolutely over the moon with that, but the job's not done. Sharp is still out on circuit, still under a lot of pressure from Pat Hoytson-Roeder, who is the number 10 we're just seeing in the front of shot there. Hoytson-Roeder, we've spoken a lot about him this weekend, and I think rightly so, because he's really coming on strong at this midpoint in the season. We're looking at him right now in the number 10 JHR grey machine there. He's moving on first full season of the championship. He's not the most experienced driver on the grid either. In all fairness, he's not done the most. He did F4, and of course then GB3 just won podium last season. As we see some more lovely slow-mos of this time Jared Boberski taking a lot of curve through the second part of the chicane. Lewis, there's a lot of narrative and a lot of stories building as this season goes through. We've got the championship front runners battling it out and the chopping and changing. You've got the drivers who are new to the championship or less experienced in their single-seater career building. You've got the experienced drivers trying to push on for a championship campaign in the second half of the season. And it's just playing out very nicely. I'm looking forward to seeing how the rest of the season unfolds. But we're not quite done with this race yet, as we're looking at our race leader, Artur Ojon, gliding that car through turn number 4. Great drive from him so far.
So far, it's been absolutely perfect. Obviously, he's looking for his 4th podium in GB3, and it would be his first victory in GB3. You can see the gap growing to Josh Irfan, who's growing the gap to Jared Boberski, who's growing the gap to Louis Sharp as well. So it's an impressive drive from our top 3 at the moment. Of course, we have seen Ojon on the podium a couple of times, or 3 times last season. We've seen Boberski on the podium a couple of times, including once already this season with a second-place finish. So we're seeing those return to the podium. But Josh Irfan, I will say, having an excellent drive for his second top 10 in GB3 and his first ever podium. Here's the battle behind, though. Hoytson-Roeder's closed his way back in. And do remember, Louis Sharp is that one running in the number 7, the black and white car. that is a car that is battling for the championship. Hungaroring, as much as he's getting stronger, don't get me wrong, he's not going to be battling for the championship this season, that is for sure. But hey, with the pace advantage that he's finding in that JHR Developments car, maybe next season, you never really know. James Headley's closing his way back in. John Bennett's closing his way back in. This is going to be a tricky battle for the top 4 with just 3 laps left to go. Yeah,
the battle 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th is pretty close, and as much as Sharp is looking pretty comfortable, that is now within attacking range for Hungaroring. He has a feint to the inside, just trying to put Sharp off, although actually he's feinted himself and had a small lock-up, so he's going to drop off the back of Sharp a little bit. But Sharp is definitely the slowest of the bunch, because for Hungaroring to be sitting within 4/10 for most of the lap shows that he's clearly got a grip or tyre or balance advantage at this stage in the race.
I'm assuming that they've taken maybe the worst tyres in this race for Louis Sharp, as we were kind of discussing. But do remember, this race, compared to the other 2 races we do in the weekend, this race is 3 laps longer. Also, track temperature is higher at the moment than basically it's been, I think, pretty much all weekend actually.
Yeah, it is.
In the mid-40s.
Yeah, it is. It's certainly warmed up out there. The sun has been out properly for a good hour or so before the race started, whereas even yesterday afternoon's race, which was at 6 p.m, even though it was hot, as we're seeing now, number 21. Oh, that is number 21 we were talking about. Will McIntyre. Is it number?
Yeah,
it is. Will McIntyre, 5-second penalty. So from 8th place, our new championship leader is going to be. Well, let me have a quick look. Actually, Lewis, I'll let you talk through this move while I have a look at the timesheet.
Yeah, Sean Rashid and Hugo Schwarzer switching around, going through turn 1. Hugo Schwarzer with the up and under going through the first corner. I'm not exactly sure as to how far. I think it'll only drop in 2 positions at the moment.
Just around where Sean Rashid is in 11th place. It'll be nip and tuck whether he'll come ahead of or behind Sean Rashid. So that's not going to be helping Will McIntyre's points haul. So just needs to be a bit more disciplined on track limits. And again, Will McIntyre, another first-year driver, very experienced. He finished high in another championship. I think he's 2nd in British F4 last year, and he's clearly got the speed and experience. But to win a championship, you really need to bag the points, and it's your bad days that sort of define the series, isn't it? We've seen that in both seasons gone by.
Yeah, particularly last year with Callum Voisin, of course, when he was driving for Carlin, which is now
it was Rodin Carlin,
of course. Yeah, it was Rodin Carlin, yeah, but it's now Rodin, just Rodin.
Yes.
Callum Voisin was incredible last year, did a lot of good stuff. But the most important thing was that we talked about time and time again, as we are on the penultimate lap of the race, by the way, was that his bad results were really not that bad. That's the thing. Yeah, sure, he had quite a lot of mediocrity at various points of the season. We were kind of wondering this for quite a while. But the fact that he always just kept hammering in decent points.
And didn't really make a huge amount of mistakes throughout the year. His bad results came from maybe the car wasn't quite there in qualifying, and he didn't qualify as high as he wanted. And I think there was one instance, I think he was at the first round, didn't he have a DNF, but it wasn't his fault, I believe, just off the top of my head. But again, Callum Voisin won the championship last year, didn't really make any major mistakes. And yes, it's only a minor mistake for Will McIntyre, but he's going to have to be thinking about this sort of thing if he wants to push on from his current championship leading position at this stage. But, for how much longer? Because if Louis Sharp can soak up this pressure from the trio behind him, then he is going to be taking that championship lead based off Lewis's commentator's math. So it's not definitive, but it looks that way.
Final lap of the race. By the way, when I'm saying about mediocrity for Callum Voisin, I'm talking about positions towards the back end of the top 10. He was on the podium an awful lot in the first half of last season. It took him 17 races to take a victory, though. So there is that as a stat for you. But Arthur Rojon here, it's not going to take him that long to take his first victory of 2024, as we're here in round 12, and he is leading by a very comfortable margin, looking for his first victory in the championship. It'll be his, if you really want to account it, even though there's been 2 counts of racing. It was his 36th race, so it's 34th if you really want to account for it properly. Doing a fantastic job in this race, just pulling away 5 seconds clear of Irfan.
Yeah, his laps have been pretty metronomic as well. I've been keeping half an eye on the timing sheets, and he's been in the mid-141s, which is pretty much the fastest driver on circuit. Yeah, the only other drivers matching his times is actually Javier Segura, who's off the back of the field, 41.5. That last lap was the second fastest. So Arthur Rojon, he didn't qualify quite as high as he would have wanted. Of course, his teammates was slightly higher than him, but a good showing in qualifying, getting himself inside the top 12, qualifying 11th fastest, put him in second place for this race, and he didn't look back, got away from the line very well, decisively took the lead, and then has driven away from the rest of the field. So take nothing away from Arthur Rojon in this one.
Certainly not, and as he climbs his way up the hill now, through the penultimate corner, up through the hairpin, up towards the final corner for the Rodin Motorsport team. It will be a victory in the hands of it. It's a second victory for them this weekend, of course, with Louis Sharp's victory, but it is a first one in the entirety of GB3 for Artur Rojon across the line to take victory here at the Hungaroring, and that will put him back inside the top 10 of the championship. Speaking of the championship, though, as we work our way through the final corner, Louis Sharp will take 4th position and will take over the championship lead. It will be by a few points. I'll go and do the maths in a few moments' time, but it will be Louis Sharp heading back to the top. So a fantastic effort from Sharp, but maybe a few pace question marks from him throughout that race. No podium in a race where we were expecting him to not only be able to get on the podium, but to be fair, we were expecting him to be potentially the favourite for the victory. Instead, it goes to his teammate Artur Rojon. It will be three Rodin Motorsports drivers inside the top 6, because Rojon in 1st, Sharp in 4th, Headley in 6th. Again, very, very impressive, and as they cool themselves down from the race, probably not too much because it's still roasting hot out there, Josh Erfan drives by and gives his congratulations with a little bit of a wave. Great drive from Erfan for a first ever podium in GB3. There is Louis Sharp, obviously, to congratulate his teammate. Not sure as to who Artur Rojon will be supporting in the Euros. He had a Germany top on earlier. They're playing obviously a bit later on, so maybe he will be in deep support of that. No idea from the Frenchman, but either way, I'm sure he'll be supporting himself after what has been an excellent performance. He's in the top 10 of the championship. He's looking quite strong this season, is Artur Rojon, who had a few struggles, finished in 21st in the championship last year, has really, really built on that. And it's kind of one of those things that sometimes we don't necessarily pick up on how far a driver is moving forward in this championship year on year. But for this, certainly it is a comfortable margin moving forward for Artur Rojon, who provisionally seals his first ever victory in GB3. Josh Erfan, of course, into 2nd position behind that, and then we'll get Jared Waberski onto the podium for the 3rd time rather, in GB3. The 2nd time this season. Louis Sharp, the new championship leader, 4th position for him. Patrick Wisenroder inside the top 5 for the 2nd consecutive race. The Australian really has had a great round so far this weekend. James Headley in 6th position with John Bennett in 7th. Mackenzie Cresswell in 8th. Of course, Hugo Schwarzer back inside the top 10 once more. Will McIntyre down to 10th position at the end of all that. Nikita Johnson, Ed Pearson, Adichie Kulkarni, Flynn Jacks, Colin Queen the top 15. Sean Rashid, Timothy Kuharczyk down in 17th position, crazily enough. Noah Ping in 18th. Javier Segura down there in 19th position. And then retirements from the race for Gerard Shee and Seb Murray. Curious to what happened to Gerard Shee in all of that. Despite having such an excellent performance in the first race of the weekend, it ddid not work out in favour of him. And High-Tech Pulsate, well, they might be looking at this thinking, what has even happened to us this weekend? They had a disqualification in the previous race because of a fire extinguisher going off and a malfunction for Timothy Kuharczyk. They've had a penalty in this race for Will McIntyre for exceeding track limits. They've had a few issues throughout the weekend, and that's before you even look at Gerard Shee, who was arguably the fastest driver of the weekend. He's certainly been up there for it, but alas, having a fair few problems throughout. He dominated the first race of the weekend and has struggled since then. Focusing on the race at hand, though, again, a second top 10 and a first podium for Josh Erfan, a 4th podium and a first victory for Artur Rojon, and Jared Waberski, well, he's up there anyway. Of course, a fantastic effort from Artur Rojon straight over to the Rodin Motorsports team, and you can see Jared Waberski there again. A great drive for him to go and grab 3rd position. I think it was the drive that he needed. He was able to outpace late on in the race as well, Louis Sharp. So that shows how impressive Jared Waberski's pace can be at times. Obviously moving over to I think there's Mike Epps, who I would have thought, to be fair, would have been at Barcelona, but clearly deciding that a little trip to Hungary was a bit more on the cards to go and assist the JHR Developments driver. Of course, he is very close with the JHR Developments driver from last year. That's Joseph Loke, of course, who, of course, is racing in Barcelona. But yeah, it must be said, a excellent drive. 5.5 seconds clear, Artur Rojon. I would not have called that before the race. I mean, I think most people were looking at Louis Sharp as really being the favourite in all of that. But well, maybe we'll see what he thinks, because we'll head down to Jon Jackson to catch up with our top 3 in the race.
A great drive here by Arthur Rojon, who we can see just chatting around to his Rodin team. I'm going to jump in now once he's put his hat on. There we go, Arthur. We'll let him celebrate some more, it's fine. I'm not important. Hey, so you led at Alton Park and that wasn't meant to be, and now you finally won a race. How do you feel?
Yeah, it's good to be finally on the top step. It was a hard race, really hot race, but yeah, lead from lap 1 to the end, really good. We have the pace. Yeah, thank you for the team to all the work they've done today after the race too. They need to change all the electronical part in the car, so they made the good work, and yeah, really happy.
An incredible amount of work there. And talk me through that move then. Were you always planning to make a move as early as possible?
Yeah, we need to make the move first lap here in this race. I know I need a good start. I make the good start. Josh just raced really good the first corner. He managed to stay outside, but then yeah, I make the move second corner and lead all the race.
Excellent stuff. We saw you earlier in a Germany football shirt. You don't support Germany though, surely, right?
Oh, come on, friends.
Okay, are they going to win the Euros?
Yeah, for sure. If they score, they win.
Okay.
That's all.
Well, you won here, and hopefully France, well, hopefully for you, France will win the Euros. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Arthur Rojon there with Rodin. I haven't got any skin in the game because Wales didn't even make it. Let's go and speak to Josh Irfan now with JHR Developments in the shade, which is what I like to see. Hey Josh, we're just going to wait for Cam to catch up. There he is. Congratulations. I know you would have wanted the win though.
Yeah, I mean, he got me at the start into T2. We sort of both outbroke each other, and then I sort of had a snap in the middle corner, and he just got the better exit. But yeah, he had me into T1. He sort of squeezed me off from exit at T1, but I do the same thing. And then I sort of came back on track from the inside of T2, and he just sort of got around outside. And then pace was good. Struggled a little bit with rear balance, but yeah, at the end of the day, it'll take a P2. Hopefully, get a P1 over later part of the year.
Yeah, well, I mean, taking a trophy home, especially when you're racing on an F1 circuit and such a cool circuit like this, it's not a bad weekend, is it?
No, I think I should have been higher up on quality, but apart from that, I've sort of maximised, except for that one, what I could do points-wise this week.
Perfect. Well, you know what to work on, and next time you'll be up there.
Thank you.
Awesome stuff. Josh, congratulations, getting second place there with JHR Developments. We're going to swing around a full 180 degrees. We're going to go and see Jared Waberski, whose dad is there. Garth Waberski, as ever, in his shadow there. Jared, a second podium of the year. You must be feeling good?
Yeah, pretty good. I think a third in that race is pretty good. I think the two guys in front, they saved their sets of tyres because they didn't have a good race too. So they were on a pretty much new set really for the race 3. So yeah, we were on 100 and something K like most of the guys. So I think pace-wise compared to them midway through the race was pretty good. So yeah, it was just managing from then onwards.
With Louis Sharp, who is the championship leader now, behind you, were you a little bit concerned that he made such a good start in that second race that he'd be doing the same again?
No, not really. I wasn't really bothered about him, really. I was just trying to move forward. He had a pretty good start, so I had to defend from him early on, and then kind of after the first 2 laps, I kind of pulled away from him. So from then onwards, it was just trying to stay as close as I could to the two guys in front in case, they made a mistake or something. But yeah, they didn't in the end. So.
Well, I had a quick chat with your dad, and he was saying it's very frustrating because you were very quick at the testing, and then things didn't quite work out in the first 2 races. But it's good to end the weekend with a trophy, and I know you'll be celebrating, and I know everyone watching back home in South Africa will be absolutely loving that you got another chance to go on the podium, and that's what we're going to do now. Jared, congratulations.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Jared Waberski there, finishing third, his second podium of the year for Elite. And yeah, as I say, we're going to see the podium now, and Lewis McGlade will talk you through it.
And so highlights then from round 12 of the GB3 Championship partnered by the BRDC. Arthur Rojon starting from second position alongside Josh Irfan on the front row of the grid, and that race down into the first corner. It was advantage though for Arthur Rojon as he would get down the inside and would complete the move for the racing with a little bit of squeeze on the exit of the first corner. Plenty of side-by-side though as they were departing that first turn, including that move for the Frenchman to work his way to the front, and also including the move between Jared Waberski and of course Louis Sharp, who were going side by side down the hill. A tricky move for Louis Sharp to try and make up on Jared Oberski, who was unable to complete that one. Meanwhile, James Headley was having a battle with Mackenzie Cresswell, and John Bennett throwing his hat into the ring. A bit of a lock-up from him as he was trying to get to the outside. Of course, Ed Pearson running out wide. A very awkward move there from Ed Pearson, who was battling with Sean Rashid. Same with Pat Ozenroder, who was pushing it a little bit too hard coming down into turn 12 as he was being attacked all over the place by James Headley. Meanwhile, it was this driver out front, absolutely dominating proceedings. Arthur Rojon taking his first ever victory in the GB3 Championship ahead of Josh Erfen and Jared Waberski on the podium in fantastic fashion. An absolutely brilliant performance from Arthur Rojon. We'll see them climb on to the podium in what is very toasty conditions here at the Hungaroring, of course. Jared Oberski will be the first one to come out to take his prize as another podium finish in the GB3 Championship. Of course, Josh Erfen there into second position, and Jared Waberski, Arthur Rojon rather, will climb his way to the top step of the podium and we'll hear the French national anthem. Again, excellent stuff there from Arthur Rojon to have taken what is an impressive victory, a dominant margin, 5.5 seconds back to Josh Erfen. Jared Oberski, of course, there in third. He'll be the first one to receive his trophy. Then, of course, it'll be Josh Erfen receiving his podium for second place. And then to the top step of the podium, it is Arthur Rojon, 5.5 seconds clear of Josh Erfen in the end of the race. And again, a well-deserved podium. Must be said, a dominant performance in that race. Obviously, wasn't the fastest driver of the weekend. Still, we'll see the top three take their photographs and have that all set and sorted as the final podium. We'll have the Sunoco fastest lap of the weekend award, which I'm actually curious to see who has got. Because I don't know, it's between Kuharczyk and Gerard Shee, and I can't remember as to which one would have said it because I can't remember how fast Gerard Shee went in the first race of the weekend. We'll see who sneaks their way out on to the podium to receive the Sunoco fastest lap of the weekend award. As once again, got to grab all the photographs for them in what is the baking heat here in the Hungaroring, and what will be treasured trophies, of course. Taking a podium abroad is always a solid effort, especially if it's a victory here in the GB3 Championship. I'm sure a lot of these drivers, like Arthur Rojon and likes, will have aspirations of returning to the Hungaroring in a championship such as, of course, the.
Been allowed on the podium. Well, you've probably been on the podium before in your racing career.
Yeah, nothing quite as grand as this though. Hungaroring Formula 1 circuit, but it's nice.
Yeah, it's very nice indeed. And another thrilling race there. And actually, there was a lot of great driving there, very consistent driving there, because we didn't see too many moments where we thought, oh, okay, that was. We don't want that. We watched some very clean, very solid racing, and also, the reverse grid race can throw up a little bit more chaos sometimes, and we didn't have that. We had a very strong race, and especially from Arthur Rojon there to make his move, make it stick, and keep that lead until taking the checkered flag.
Yeah, Rojon drove a pretty faultless race, but it was also interesting to see the fights up and down the field, both for the championship positions and non-championship leading positions. But it was good racing. It was close racing, hard racing, but very little contact throughout the race. And in a circuit like this where it switches back one way to the other, it's so easy to just get something slightly wrong and make contact. But no, all good in the end. And interesting narrative in the championship, as I just mentioned in commentary. If you'd have given Rojon the opportunity to take the championship lead with Louis Sharp after him qualifying 9th and High Tech being first and second, I think they would have taken it, and hey, here we are.
They would have indeed. So here's a 5-point lead at the top of the championship for Rojon ahead of Will McIntyre for High Tech pole safe. Then it's a 13-point gap to Timet Kuharczyk, also with High Tech pole safe. So the championship fight is really exciting. You can watch back all of the broadcasts from this weekend on the MSV YouTube channel, exactly where you're watching right now, or alternatively on Facebook as well. And of course, check out all the MSV and the GB3 Championship social media for all of behind-the-scenes action. We've got photos there, we've got videos there as well, quotes from the drivers, and of course full race reports on the GB3 Championship website. We'll be back in 3 weeks' time, the final of 3 international rounds in the GB3 Championship this weekend. We will return for the second year in a row to Zandvoort, so we'll see you there.